Hi, just like to do a quick video for you, take you through the main football research website that's out there for free. And I'll also show you the football markets that are available with the bookmaker and with the betting exchange. Now, with the bookmaker, you must avoid the mug punter bets, which I'll come to. This is soccerstats.com. Get to know it. It's your friend. I would highly recommend you use Microsoft Edge to access soccerstats.com in order to avoid their very annoying pop-ups. English Premier League is what we've focused on in the Eletter, but there's very few matches to get our teeth into. So what I'll do, I'll look at one of our summer leagues in Norway, the Norwegian Elite Serien. So you click on the flag of the country whose matches you want to look at, and a scroll down will give you an indication of the matches to come. We can have a quick look at this particular match for the 26th of August. You'll see, in stark contrast to the Premier League, there's plenty of football played here, plenty of stats and patterns therefore. So scroll down to view stats and matches for both teams. Probably, I would say, the end of October will be an ideal time to start really researching the English Premier League and the attendant elite leagues throughout Europe. So this is a look in chronological order at the first match played to the last match played. And you'll see 3 columns, 2.5 goals. That's any match with 3 goals or more. It's got a plus. CS stands for for clean sheets. So any plus, you'll see the side kept a clean sheet. Failed to score, FTS, and HT is the half-time score. These all correspond to particular markets that are available with the bookmakers and with the exchanges. As you can see here, these two sides are in pretty hot form from the 25th of June onwards. 100% wins for Viking and unbeaten Molde. Now, I would always recommend you look at the home form for the home side, the away form for the away side. You can do that quite easily. Move down to this current streaks and sequences. No defeat in 7 at home for the home side. Really solid stuff. 5 consecutive away wins for the away side. So this could be a very tough to call match between 2 informed sides. The away side have scored in the last 18 matches. So they look dependable on the score sheet. They've scored 2+ goals in each of the last 2 away matches as well. But we need to put these wins into some kind of a context. When you're looking at the form, home for the home side, away for the away side. That's always a key pointer. Do that throughout. Home for the home side, away for the away side. You'll see specific patterns emerging. The home side have scored first in 8 of the last 9 home matches. That's a really strong pattern coming into this particular match. Now, it's a top 4 clash, and that to me spells trouble because these two sides are obviously in the top 4 best form sides so far this season. So it could be what I call a derby style match. You'll see me reference that in the research for the Premier League. Look at the head-to-head. Last head-to-head saw a 3-4 win for Molde away at Viking. Now that also suggests the possibility of both teams to score and a highly competitive affair today. What I do note for this Viking side, despite their really solid winning form recently, they are struggling against the top 3 away from home, despite scoring. Is that going to continue against Forth? That's a question we might have to ask ourselves. Move down, you've got your scoring and conceding. This is for over 2.5 goal bets or any other bets in these particular markets, and even half-time markets as well. So what grabs me? 78% over 1.5 goals. That means both at least 2 goals have been scored in 78% of home matches. You've got a similar story here. 78% of away matches have seen at least 2 goals scored. So do remember that. Any strong first half goal patterns? Well, 3/4 of the home side's matches, home and away, have seen at least a goal before half time. That's a very strong pattern. We're getting to nearly 2/3 of the away side's matches overall, seeing at least a goal before half time. So you might want to factor that in, because the half-time markets do allow you to play in the first half of a match, a specific niche that you might want to employ. Scoring and conceding rates, don't really look at this, to be honest. You might want to look at it, particularly if it's a 0-0 at half time, and you'll see 67% of home goals. Well, they have a scoring rate of 67% in the second half, so that's pretty solid. Scoring rate of 89% in the second half for the away side. So if it's 0-0 at half time, you might be assured of a goal second half. You could, for example, lay the draw. Moving on down, the next point of entry, goal times. Don't forget, home for the home side, away for the away side. This is what a lot of punters don't do. They look at overall form. But time and time again, you'll see specific patterns emerge when a side's playing at home versus when they're on the road. No strong patterns for the home side moulder. I do note 9 goals scored in the last half hour. We might see some late action. Now look at the away side though, very strong pattern is emerging. 11 of 15 goals scored by Viking away from home have come second half. So don't be alarmed if they haven't scored in the first half. They're highly likely to score second half. And look at the pattern for the 76th to 90th minute of the away match. 13 goals in total. So you might want to look specifically if it's a draw coming to the 75th minute for there to be another goal, perhaps either scored or conceded. Could be some late action here. This is the half-time look. 2 0-0s at half-time at home, 1 at full-time, 3 0-0s at half-time away, none at full-time. So possibility if it's 0-0 at half-time that we're going to see second half goals. There's only been 1 0-0 all season in a Moulder match. There have been no 0-0s at all in a Viking match. Again, that opens up, particularly for in-play bettors, if it's a 0-0 coming up to the 75th minute, for instance, you might want to start looking at there being at least a goal scored. How would you entertain that? Well, you would lay the 0-0 if you're on the Betfair exchange, or lay the draw if it's a 0-0 coming to the 75th minute. So that's a quick glimpse at the form. Now compare that to the English Premier League, where we are absolutely barren as far as form is concerned. Chelsea and Luton, for instance, you've only got 1 match played by Luton. You've got 2 matches played by Chelsea. Nothing we can get out of this at all, apart from a both teams to score angle, and the fact that the 3 matches played between these 2 sides this season have seen at least a goal before half-time. But apart from that, it's not as solid, is it, as that Norwegian match where we've got a whole grasp of football to work off in order to find our angles. I want you to take you to a typical bookmaker football market. Now, I would not recommend betting with bookmakers, to be honest. Value is not there at all. They put up laughable odds in play, awful value, and it's chock full of mug punts. Bournemouth to score in both halves. We've got absolutely no idea if it's going to happen or not, do we? We don't have a basis of form to work off at this stage of the season. So all of this is an attempt by the bookmaker just to steal your money off you. Okay, they do offer us a stats feed or a stats look. I haven't looked at that one myself. So I would not recommend the bookmakers. Total player shots on goal, again, a pure guess. These markets are difficult to call. That's why I prefer to play in play, and I prefer the betting exchange. I would not play the bookmakers odds. You get far better odds if you are going to punt on football along with your horse racing if you use the exchanges, and in particular Betfair's exchange, which has a huge amount of liquidity to it. You're going to get hundreds of markets with typical bookmakers, but the vast majority of them are what I term mug punter bets. Next corner to occur in the next 5 minutes, that kind of thing. I don't know. It's like playing. There we go. Cards shown in the first 5 minutes. I don't know. I don't have any background of stats to work off, do I? It's an absolute guess. An absolute guess. This is mug punting all the way. So please, if you're going to be getting a professional eye on football, I would recommend the Betfair Exchange. This is a contrast here, Bournemouth and Tottenham's matches. We do have a number of these markets, and these markets, coincidentally, fit in nicely with the stats that are available at soccerstats.com. We've already looked at the over and under goals, correct scores, match odds. Look at the half-time market, for instance. Excellent stuff. So what will the score be at half-time? What will the result be at half-time? You can work this niche market. You'll get better odds. This is what my customers learn at footballtradingprofits.com. If you focus on the half-time market, you're giving yourself necessarily a time limit of 45 minutes for something to occur. But in response, you're getting better odds. Now, once we have a background of form to work off, we will get a good idea of whether a side tends to score and concede before half-time. So that's something for you to look at. +1 market is something we use as a specialist market. It's effectively giving a team a goal head start. So this is a lesson for you. I would highly recommend using the betting exchange if you are to be a football bettor. And if you want a real opportunity to make money, I would use in-play markets, particularly at this stage of the season where we've got very little form to work off. Now, I'll be researching the Premier League for you every Friday, having a look at Saturday and Sunday's matches, and you'll see the research evolve with each new match under our belt. We'll be able to make more distinctions. But at this stage, we've only got 2 matches really to work off. That's too small a sample, but I have tried my best, and I'll try my best to get rid of these spelling errors as well. So a quick look at Bournemouth and Tottenham will tell you Tottenham have a new manager. So immediately you can't look at any of Tottenham's previous form. And whenever there's a new manager, you must have a new slate. He'll have new tactics, a new formation, and a new goal, so to speak. Could be to keep clean sheets and look to nick a 1-0, like Sean Dyche at Everton. Don't know how long he's going to last. Or Pochettino, 2 goals a game for Tottenham so far. So that looks pretty good. Arsenal and Fulham, I would recommend you pay attention to what the market is saying. 1.2, the favourite, suggests certain assumptions that we can make. The assumption being that Arsenal should score 3 goals at least today, should break through before half-time, and should win comfortably. But this is a London derby, as you can see. I would suggest you pay attention whenever I mention the word derby style match. You could realistically ignore any of the form. You saw West Ham 3, Chelsea 1. Did any of you see that coming? I certainly didn't. Brentford and Crystal Palace is another London derby, so immediately you're on the back foot. It's very hard to get a grasp on this. This is one of those matches where both sides are not pulling together. There's very contrasting form. Brentford full of goals. Crystal Palace having trouble scoring just the 1 goal. They've had a 1-0 win and a 1-0 defeat. Very unlucky to lose against an Arsenal penalty. But this is another London derby for both of these teams. So again, we must factor in the derby element, and we must also factor in the fact that these 2 sides have very contrasting form. Which one is going to out? Brentford's goals or Crystal Palace's defensive strengths? Everton and Wolverhampton Wanderers. Well, you've got a new manager for Everton in Sean Dyche, and he doesn't seem to be a good fit at all. He's trying to win 1-0, and that tends to fall flat on its face when the other side scores. Wolverhampton Wanderers coming off the back of an unexpected 4-1 defeat last match against, I think it was Brighton. Aston Villa, wasn't it? It's Brighton who was scoring 4 goals as well. We'll come to that. So these 2 sides are in pretty poor form. Don't like it. Both have lost their first match 1-0. Both conceded 4 goals in the second match. They've both got something to prove. I would expect a tightening of defence. Whenever you see sides conceding heavily in a prior match, watch out for their next match, because they tend to overreact defensively to compensate for that huge concession prior. So this is a match which does not appeal. And do pay attention to decimal odds like this. It's telling you already the market hasn't got a clue. The market makers don't know who's going to win. Best to leave it alone, or if you're going to play it via the in-play stats. This is a match where we're looking, or Manchester United are looking, at scoring 2 goals for the first time this season. They won their first match 1-0 and they lost their second match against Tottenham Hotspur 2-0. Nottingham Forest, 2 consecutive 2-1 scorelines, a 2-1 away loss at Arsenal and a 2-1 home win at Sheffield United. Is that 2-1 pattern going to re-emerge today? We've got contrasting half-time stats. Manchester United have had 2 consecutive nil-nils at half-time. Forest have had goals before half-time. So again, we've got contrasts. But I would look here to the potential for Manchester United to get off the board here and score 2 goals for the first time this season. Can Nottingham Forest score again? They've scored in both matches. And their real threat is Taiwo Awoniyi. Excuse my pronunciation. He could be value in the goal scorer market. Brighton and West Ham United. The odds for me immediately are far too short. They are this short because Brighton have had 2 consecutive 4-1 wins, but note one of them came against newly promoted Luton Town, who could quite simply find the Premier League too tough to call. I do tend to look and target newly promoted sides as being potentially gettable, and newly relegated sides as being potentially backable back in their lower leagues, like Sampdoria in Italian Serie B. Watch out for them. And watch out for Southampton and Leicester, particularly in the English Championship. They seem to be performing rather well. Both teams to score has come in both West Ham matches. So that could be an angle in. But for me, the value lies in laying Brighton. Laying simply means you oppose a team, or effectively you're backing a team not to win. I would lay Brighton if they scored first. That way we get shorter odds than the 1.53 on offer. These odds look far too skinny for me, with the West Ham buoyant after the home win against Chelsea. On Sunday, we've got Claret and Blue derby. Burnley against Aston Villa. Burnley are newly promoted. They've only got the one match. That was a loss to Man City, but that was inevitable. So we've got absolutely no way to gauge Burnley this season just yet. Aston Villa have been full of goals. 9 goals scored in the last 2 matches, but they were playing Scottish side Hibernian in the Europa Conference League. And this is an important factor for you. Do take note of any teams playing domestic match between 2 legs of European club competitions, be it the Champions League, Europa League, or the Conference League. That's the factor for Aston Villa, but they do have a comfortable 5-0 first leg lead, which suggests they will be fully into this match today. They won't be distracted too much by that second leg with such a resounding first leg victory. Sheffield United and Man City were 1.17 again, tells you a story. The market's expecting 0-3, 1-3, any other away score for Manchester City. It's expecting a goal before half-time, expecting a shed load of goals and a possible win to 0. So that's immediately the assumptions you can make with such short odds. That's something you'll learn if you're a football bettor, especially if you like doing those bet builders, which are effectively an accumulator for a single match. Watch out for them at the bookies. With a bet builder, I'd like to build up an accumulator on Manchester City. For example, both teams to score, possible win to 0. Haaland to score 2 goals perhaps. There to be over 3.5 goals. Possibly throw in there a correct score or 2. Have some fun. You might get really good return. These kind of odds do tend to be very predictable scorelines. Newcastle and Liverpool. This is a kind of a derby style match, so I'd be very reticent to get involved here. And one of the things you should be learning, along with perhaps betting in a maiden where there's no form, from a horse racing analogy, or betting with amateur riders. Derby style matches, usually not matches I would bet or trade in. I can't predict a winner, so I'm not going to bother trying. I hope this introduction, before I lose my voice, to football betting as an addition to your horse racing interests you. Do have a good read of the research and see next week if any of the conclusions I came to fruition. As I say, a little caveat, there's only 2 matches to work off. That's not enough form. I'll see you next week.